Alright everyone, now this is the continuation for my Titan of, kind of the last set of Destiny videos showing you guys my classes and that sort of thing. We're going to hop right into it with Sunbreaker on the Titan because that is the new subclass. Sunbreaker got nerfed pretty freaking hard because it was ridiculous. There was some glitches that were involved, but mainly like the Sunbreaker Titan super was just completely broken, completely overpowered. Easily the strongest super in the game. Like, you could literally just walk into groups of 6 people and just throw like 2 hammers and kill everyone. So it got nerfed pretty heavily not too long ago now. Actually, it was several months ago now, I guess. But basically, this is my PvE setup. All these grenades are actually fairly good. It really depends on what you prefer. You can experiment with thermite grenade, but really most people are going to go for fusion or incendiary. I personally go for incendiary. Like I said, they're pretty strong now. They got a damage buff earlier. Increased control is the best jump for Titans, point blank period. No argument whatsoever. I will show you why in a second. It really makes up for the lack of agility. As I said, I don't really spec into agility anymore because I know how to use jumps to kind of make up for it. Forge Master is kind of the obvious choice here, although I've seen a lot of people experimenting with both Sun Charge, which is pretty much a Sunbreaker's shoulder charge in their super, as well as Scorched Earth. But, I personally prefer Forge Master. I mean, it's more hammers and bigger explosions. Pretty straightforward there, I think. PvE, you're going to go with Melting Point easily. This thing, you just run up and punch a boss, and they're weak. Like, your team can do tons and tons of damage with this on. It literally makes their entire body a precision hit box, pretty much, is what this does. And it increases your damage so much. It's almost like Weapons of Light from the Defender Titan, except way better, I think. So yeah, obviously I'm running high armor, high recovery. That is pretty much what you're going to want to go with. Since you're a Titan, you probably want to go as much armor as possible. So you can do that, but it's really up to you. And then Cauterize is the obvious choice. You kill someone with your grenade or your melee or your super and you get a health regen. This got nerfed a little bit in the patch that I was mentioning because obviously, every time you killed someone with a grenade, a melee, or your super, it regens your health. And on a ranged super like the Hammer Titan, that was just completely ridiculous because you could just roll up with your Hammer Titan, pop your super, and literally just throw 2 hammers. It didn't matter how many bullets were being thrown at you, you would heal yourself. So Cauterize is still very, very solid, very good ability. If you are, kind of not really wanting to use your super, Simmering Flames is a pretty good option, and Firekeeper is alright, but Firekeeper is really, like it says, sending in Sunspot, you gain an overshield and your hammer lasts longer. So, I mean, obviously you're going to have to spec into Sunspots, which means you're using Thermal Vent and probably, what is it? Is it Flee Fire? No, it's Scorched Earth. Scorched Earth and Thermal Vent is what you're going to be using if you want a Sunspot build. I've seen people experimenting with that, but for me personally, this is the build I'm using. For PvP, pretty much everything stays the same. A lot of people run Thermal Vent, including me. I like to run Thermal Vent. It's actually pretty effective if you, run into several enemies and punch them, and like a sunspot appears around you and starts burning all the enemies that are in close proximity. Actually fairly good. So you might want to experiment with that because Melting Point doesn't really do that much in a melee fight with a Titan, to be completely honest with you. So you might want to experiment with Thermal Vent in PvP, but otherwise everything pretty much it's straightforward. It stays the exact same. Some people run more agility to take more advantage of the Titan's movement with increased control, which I'm about to demonstrate in a movement mode called Titan Skating. And beware, I'm not very good at this, but I'm going to go ahead and cut here and reset the recording so I can show you guys how to Titan skate a little bit. Alright, so as you can see here, I'm at kind of my normal spot where I test movement modes, and I have increased control equipped here, which is what I use on every single Titan class. And I'm about to show you guys how to Titan skate. So basically you run, you jump up in the air and you pretty much just spam the A button over and over again once you hit the ground. So you're going to want to wait for yourself to kind of come down, so you're kind of gaining forward momentum, almost like you're blinking forward, like you guys saw in my blink video, not like a, what was that, a couple months ago? It was I think it was actually quite a while ago. I don't know what this guy's doing, but yeah, you're pretty much going to want to wait for your momentum to carry you forward. And then right as you hit the ground, you're spamming that A button as fast as you possibly can, or whatever your jump button is. I play on Puppeteer, so it's A for me, and you will go way faster Titan skating. I am by no means a master of this. I just use it a little bit. I really actually suck at it. Like, I'm really bad. Like, this is actually bad. So I'm going to go ahead and time it for you guys. This is actually one of my worst Titan skates of all time, and I'm going to show you one. And I'm going to show you how much faster it is than just sprinting. So this is going to be, you know, kind of a timed section, and you guys will see it in action here. And so I will show you guys the times on screen right now. But needless to say, Titan skating really, really effective in the right hands. Even if you're not that good with it, it will make you go much, much faster, transverse around the map way, way faster. And if you want to go full agility, this is, you know, you can try it out. You can go full agility, and it does make you go faster. But like I said, I like to spec into recovery and armor to kind of play on the strength of the jump ability and be able to really get good use out of that. And so you don't really have to spec into agility, because you can go just as fast. You know, you can go pretty fast with the Titan skate as it is. So that is, you know, the main reason that you run increased control. It's really good, and that's that. So moving on to my armor, my loadouts, I'm pretty much always running a shotgun on my Titan. If you're running a sniper, most people would say you're doing it wrong. Like a Titan, it's that up close and personal. Like the Titan skate is the fastest jump in the game, hands down. Even though I suck with it, it's definitely the fastest. It gets you places from point A to point B. It gets you there fastest. So shotguns are really the way to go, as well as a long-range primary. Obviously, you know, pulse rifle, a really solid hand cannon like Hawkmoon, or obviously Thorn and Sweaties. A lot of people are using Thorn. Hardlight is the auto rifle that has no damage drop off, so that's why I have it equipped now. If you want to snipe on a Titan, you really have to take advantage of your mobility and get into positions and angles where your enemy would not expect you to be. Capitalize on the speed of the Titan is really what you have to do. For my armor here, I've got actually really good armor setups here. I've got a helmet, Iron Banner helmet. Look how sexy that helmet is, man. It's great. We'll take a moment to see how sexy my Titan is in a moment here, but it's got Angel of Mercy, bonus super energy from reviving, as well as Ashes to Assets. So, you know, if you're running 6v6, you go Ashes to Assets, you get grenade kills, you get more super energy. And also Infusion is really solid, picking up an Orb of Light, and it heals you. Angel of Mercy, obviously, in 3v3 for reviving people, it gives you more super energy. I've got, you know, all the good helmets. Helma Saint 14 for your Defender Titan, and you know, that's pretty good. But on Sunbreaker, I am pretty much always running these, the Immolation Fists. It gives me Explosive Pyre for free, which is essentially this. It's enemies felled by your hammer explode, chaining fiery solar damage to others. So that frees you up to go for tracking hammers. Really solid build right there. Highly recommend getting these arms if you possibly can. If I'm not running that, I'm running these arms because it's the highest level, or I'm running these because they're intellect discipline. For stat roll wise, you're going to want to go for intellect discipline easily. Discipline obviously is your neutral game, so you want to go more for that, and that is going to be that. Alright, so now we're going back into the Defender classes. So I decided to tag this on at the end here, guys. I will go into my Defender and Striker classes. Defender, first of all, the PvE, like literally probably next to Night Stalker is the hands down the best PvE class. Well, you know, Sunsinger, Night Stalker, and Defender, best 3 PvE classes in the game. The bubble is just so useful. So most people are going to be running Magnetic Grenade. It's just the easy, you know, stick-on grenade. It does a ton of damage. You're good to go. Increased control as always. Weapons and Blessing of Light are usually what you're going to want to go for. Unbreakable is really solid. If you want to do Orb Generation, this actually has some use in the raids or in some strikes if you want to just feed team supers. Force barrier kills create orbs of light. So when you have force barrier, you can just punch a bunch of weak stuff and generate a ton of orbs for your team. Really, really good strategy. And also, this is an orb generation kind of build, so Ward of Dawn takes damage, it creates orbs as well. But usually you're going to want to go for Bastion, which just flat out increases the time that the bubble is active, and that is just pretty much the best that you can go for. Illuminated is pretty good, increases the benefits, so you do more damage with Weapons of Light, you take more damage with Blessing. A lot of people will go for Untouchable, which just flat out reduces the cooldown time of your bubble. Alright, sorry about that. We're back. My dog, man, my dog, my eardrums. Alright, so for PvP, Magnetic Grenade is a dick move, but if you want to use it, that's your prerogative. It's a sticky grenade. It's really good in PvP. Auto tracks your enemies pretty well, and will usually kill them pretty much 100% of the time that you land it. But I like to run Suppressor Grenade because, as I said about the Incendiary Grenade, they actually buffed that grenade's damage, and that actually applies to all the bouncy grenades, like the normal, like what you envision a grenade in real life as, like the Incendiary, the Suppressor, and the Flashbang on the Titan. All do the same amount of damage now. They all got buffed. So Suppressor Grenade is really good. It makes your enemies not able to use their grenades, their melee abilities, and their supers. It completely erases that. And if someone's in their super and you hit them with a Suppressor Grenade, it takes them out of their super. It's a lot like the Night Stalker's super. So Suppressor Grenade sees a lot of use on the Defender Titan. And I was actually one of the first people to start using it. I used it all the way back at the beginning of Trials of Osiris. I went, like, my first several flawlesses were with a Defender Titan using Suppressor Grenades. That's just, when I just found out how good it was, and I just started using it and having a lot of success. So if you guys want to try that out in PvP, I highly recommend. Once again, increased control is a way to go. And also check out your enemies. Blessing is usually going to be the way to go, but if you have a lot of Blade Dancers on the enemy team, or actually even Sunsingers, you're probably going to want to go armor, because otherwise they will just rush you in your bubble and annihilate you. And the bubble is a really hard super to use in PvP anyways. It's really not what you want to be going with as a public event spawns in the background. But it can be pretty useful if you know how to use it. You really have to make sure that there is not a super that can immediately take out your bubble. Nova Bombs, Striker Titans, Stormcallers with Landfall, and Golden Guns can just immediately take out your bubble. You really want to be careful of that. Bubble's a really tactical super, but if you use it correctly, it can actually be incredibly good. Contrary to a lot of people's beliefs. Unbreakable is what you're gonna want to go with in PvP, period, if you're running it, and that's just that. Bastion, obviously, really, really solid, and Untouchable is going to be the way to go as well. Obviously, if you're running, what is it? If you're running Armor of Light, obviously Untouchable. If you're running Blessing, you could go Illuminated, but I don't think that makes that much of a difference. And also, probably the best helmet, or the best armor piece in PvP right now for the Titan for Defender is the Helm of Saint 14. In PvE as well, like, this thing is just the best. It just blinds everything that comes into your bubble. Really that second line of defense, because you can't, like, especially on like Nightfall strikes, you can actually die really easy in your bubble if a ton of enemies just rush you in it. And it's the same in PvP, if people just rush you, it's way better to have them blinded. So I highly recommend that. But if you want to do something different, the no backup plans have been buffed since the Taken King, to where shotgun kills now also trigger Force Barrier. So if you have your Force Barrier to where it continually recharges, and then you want to spec to increase the strength and duration of Force Barrier even more, then you can literally just run around and be a flying shotgun with increased control jump and get overshields constantly. It is a really annoying strat, very effective, and I highly recommend you try it out. Otherwise, for PvP, I mean, you really can't go wrong with Armamentarium. Another grenade, no matter what the class is, 2 grenades is just so good, and it's not to be messed with. But as you can see, this is my armor setup right now. you know, I've got some decent things, but that's what it usually ends up being. Intellect discipline, like I said, you really want to go for intellect discipline, and yeah, that's about it. First, the Striker Titan, the final subclass. Nothing's really changed. Like I said, the flashbang got buffed along with incendiary and suppressors, so it does a lot more flat damage now, and it also blinds your enemies really well if you can land it. But still in my opinion, the lightning grenade is probably the best grenade in the entire game. Like for PvP, like it's so good. I highly recommend you try it. Increased control as always. Shockwave, Death from Above, and Aftermath are all really good choices. It really depends on what you like to use. For things like control and just objective game modes in general, I suppose, Aftermath is a really solid choice because, you know, it prevents people from hopping the objective. You know, it kind of creates an area of effect that people can't, you know, cross or enter for a little while, and you actually get way more kills with it than you'd think. Shockwave is the same way. It really kind of extends the range of your Fist of Havoc, makes it almost into like an Arcblade Razor's Edge, where if you mess up your Fist of Havoc, but you're kind of aimed at them, it'll kind of give you that second line of defense where it'll actually, you know, rush out and actually kill your enemy. Overload is really it's what you want to do. Overload is amazing. Shoulder Charge is really fun. Juggernaut, I would say, is actually better now. It got buffed. Unstoppable gives you that huge armor buff, and, you know, just flat out hard to kill while using your super, and that's really solid for a Striker Titan. As I said, speccing into armor and recovery, and then Transfusion heals you on Stormfist kills and Shoulder Charge kills, so that's really good, especially since Stormfist does more damage than any other melee since the past patch. So that's going to be it for my Titan, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and the next video will be my Warlock.